not talking too long, then this is good. I only have 3 slides to show you or so. And then Monday, I am operating under the assumption. Why are you on your phone? Monday, I am operating under the assumption that you will have read 4 articles, 2 for and 2 against your topic. That's what I'm operating under because Monday we start writing paper number 2 in class. If you're not there, fix it. Hi. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Don't concern yourself if you've been struggling to figure out what synthesis is supposed to mean. We'll do that. Okay. At the very minimum, please have read 1 article for and 1 article against. Then you're okay. You are not in as good shape as those who've read 2 and 2, but you're better than had you not done it at all. Okay? Please, by Monday, have read 1 for and 1 against minimum. But ideally, you really want to have read 2 for and 2 against. You should have a nice chunk of time today to attack that. But there is something else that I'm going to be assigning you. We haven't done these in a while, but an online exam, super easy. Take it multiple times. I'll take the best score. What's a fair due date? End of the school or what? This fairly easy online exam.
Who did he ask?
Yeah, that's right. I asked him. Nice.
Next Friday.
He and I bonded today. We jumped over a stump.
We did.
It was very romantic.
Next Friday.
1 week from today.
Yes.
1 week from today. And remember, due is relative. Due only means it goes into Infinite Campus. You can easily do it afterwards. Fine, no problem, no penalty. There is no late work in here. It's just that next Friday, it will go into Infinite Campus. I will explain what it is. Just let me cover some things here, and then I'll explain what exactly we're talking about. I am revisiting the whole idea of area bombing versus precision bombing, and I made you justify one or the other and which was more effective. Let me just give you some historical background, some actual evidence of area bombing versus precision bombing. Another word for area bombing is total warfare. It's the same thing. It's the argument that cities are fair game, civilians are fair game, and actually a more humane, I know this is weird, but here goes, a more humane way of fighting. You want to end a war tomorrow? Kill the babies. Kill the babies. Make the enemy so horrified by your willingness to kill babies that they surrender. A few hundred babies die, war's over. You want to be cruel? Start with the old men and work your way down. The society you're fighting will not give up, and a whole lot more people will be dead. And if you think that's a twisted way of thinking, well, okay. So I am now showing you historical attempts to outlaw certain forms of warfare. These are real. In 1899, the world signed a treaty outlawing dropping explosives from hot air balloons, which was done. American Civil War saw the use of hot air balloons to spot the enemy. Of course, anyone see the irony there? Oh, yeah. I would not be that volunteer. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, yes, that's true. That's true. They didn't use helium back then. You're right. But anyone see the irony in using hot air balloons to spot the enemy?
They see you.
They've just located you. Exactly. Right. So there was some irony there. 1907, a treaty was passed. No more attacking undefended towns. If they're not defending themselves, you do not have the right to attack them. World War I saw the first casualties from area bombing. Aerial. First time in human history where a flying object killed civilians. Of course, people had died before then, but first time where aerial planes, think Red Baron, right? Double-wing planes. Here's the guy. He was an Italian guy, and he argued for targeting civilians as a way of ending the war sooner. It's the same philosophy Grant used during the American Civil War. Grant said, you want to end this war? I'm sorry, it wasn't Grant. It was Sherman. Sherman, a Union general, said, you want to end the war quickly? Attack their cities. They'll give up. Good.
Based on that 1907 thing, wasn't the best way to not get attacked be keep your entire country undefended then? Because no one can attack.
Yep, and welcome to Switzerland. 1920s, various countries engaged in writing out rules of warfare, right? Visiting the discussion that we had yesterday, some of you argued you can't have any rules. And then I kind of tricked you to say, okay, that means 9/11 was fair game. And then you hemmed and hawed and said, okay, right? It gets complicated. Okay. So let's take a look at how the U.S. behaved during World War II in Europe. So are you familiar with Blitzkrieg? I assume you are.
Yes.
What is Blitzkrieg?
It's a strategy.
Can you expound on that?
Isn't it like just attacking a lot?
It's the strategy of attacking a lot. Okay. And what did you learn?
German.
Apparently nothing. Go ahead.
It's a form of warfare where you just keep pushing forward instead of like attacking, then establishing a supply line back to home base. You don't worry about the supply lines. You just want to conquer everything really, really fast.
Excellent. Right. The whole idea that the United States military used during the Civil War was conquer part of the South, gain control of it, maintain a supply line back to the North. Slow, deliberate plotting, capture, supply line, supply line. Blitzkrieg was, let's roll. Let's just go. We will attack the enemy so quickly that they will not have time to retreat. They will then leave their supplies and we'll use those supplies, right? That's the strategy used by the Germans. The Germans also area bombed London, right? Remember the air war of London? They area bombed London. Well, the British said, well, if you're going to do that to us, we're going to do that to you. So the British, in response, used precision bombing against the Germans until they started losing, right? So precision bombing was seen as a more humane way of fighting the enemy, but it didn't lead to victory. So the British changed tactics and engaged in area bombing of the Germans. What does RAF mean?
Royal Air Force.
Royal Air Force. Bombed at night, right? And is this a violation of the rules? At least during the day, you can see the plane coming. At night, you can't know where they are. You don't know where they are. Is that seen as a violation of rules? Today, no. We learned about this yesterday, actually. The brightest man in the room taught us about the Allied bombing of German cities. I think you said Dresden, didn't you? You said Dresden. And that did happen. Also, the Allies bombed civilian Hamburg, Germany. By the way, the word hamburger is named after Hamburg, Germany. Fun little fact. How about America? What did we do? In Europe, precision bombing. In Asia, area bombing. And a good question would be, well, why? Why is it that we decided to use one strategy in Europe, precision bombing, but a different strategy in Asia with area bombing? And I threw out a possible couple answers. Go ahead.
Jack would say it's because they're Japanese.
In Europe, they reason, and in Asia, they show stuff like.
Okay, so the Japanese kamikaze mentality meant that the United States believed that every Japanese was a possible enemy, whereas the conclusion was a lot of Germans are sort of victims of the Nazi regime, that they were not going along with the wishes. They disagree. That is very debatable. I hear some hmms here and I agree with you that I'm not sure that is a logical conclusion, but that was the conclusion. There's another one I heard right here. What?
Jack said it was because they're Japanese.
Okay, maybe racism. Maybe pure and simple racism. No. That the Americans saw the Germans as fellow white people, but saw the Japanese as not.
Could have been any reason.
Okay. I'm not saying that that's true.
Or maybe.
You're looking. This is actually an aerial photograph of Tokyo. Back then they had black and white. You're aware that during the American Revolution, color existed, but then there was a dark period when only black and white existed, and World War II, and then we became colored again during Vietnam. Everything was black and white during World War II. That's because it was. This is a color photograph, but there was no color at this time.
Yeah.
Color did not exist. By the way, I'm obviously joking. However, I am serious about this. There is no color out there. Color is your brain interpreting. There's no color out there.
Hey,
Yes, I do.
There is.
No, there isn't.
Yes, there is.
No, there isn't.
Yes,
There
there
is
is.
also no sound out there. Sound is your brain taking airwaves and interpreting it.
Yeah, there is.
Answering the question, if a tree falls in the woods and there's no one there to hear it, does it make a sound? Answer,
Yes.
no.
Yes. Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
Sound.
It vibrates
The
the
definition
air.
of sound is airwaves.
Yeah,
Right.
but it doesn't make a noise.
But if it's airwaves, but if it creates airwaves, therefore
Airwaves.
It made sound. Therefore, it made sound.
No,
Yes.
sound is in your head.
No.
Yes,
No.
and egg.
What?
What came
Egg.
first?
The egg.
No, egg. Egg.
It was egg. That one's proven.
Egg.
I think it's chicken.
Why?
It's, I don't, who cares what you think? I left my oven on this morning, or maybe I didn't. I'll start my own religion. The Potter left his oven on religion, and I'll teach people, and then I'll drive home and I'll be like, oh, I guess I didn't. You see, I either did or didn't. And it's egg.
It is.
And Ethan, we'll see what you really think because it's a question on your test.
What is anaconda?
Okay, because what came first, the chicken or the egg? That's what he meant.
Egg and no.
Yes.
Well, we'll see what you really think because it's going to be a question on your test.
I'm gonna bring that test to Donnelly.
Wah! And then I'll delete it. Okay. More
I'll
people
take
died
screenshots.
in Tokyo than in Hiroshima or Nagasaki. We did not use an atomic bomb in Tokyo, and yet more people died because we used
Fire.
fire. Tokyo is a city made out of wood. You burn it, people die.
Nothing like napalm.
Area
It
bombing.
was a napalm.
We leveled 67 Japanese cities.
It's not that many.
Yes, it is.
Well, I mean,
Well,
how
it's
many
compared
cities,
to the number small. Okay.
how many cities in Japan are there?
Probably more than 60.
There you go.
Good point. You win again. Okay. The point I was trying to make is that we've employed both, and I'm not telling you one way or the other which way is the more humane way, but if you agree to area bombing, then you have to concede that America's enemies also can use area bombing. If we don't limit ourselves, then we have to acknowledge that America's enemies also don't have to limit
Do we
themselves.
have to?
And if we create rules about our version of the way the world should be, ergo nations, rules, treaties, then we have to acknowledge that America's enemies can create their version of the way the world should
But
be.
what if they're wrong?
Well, in essence, that's what it boils down to is we want our version and you want your version. Let's see.
And we're right.
Let's go. And of course, they think they're right,
Well, they're wrong.
says you. Okay.
Says
More I
me.
can find
It
out
says-
better.
All right.
That's fine.
So now, allow me
I can
to
find out.
inform you of
on
what's
the
going on in this
national
class,
motivation.
and then you'll have the rest of the hour. So a nice chunk of time. It's called Test D. That's what it's called. It's on Kia. It's called Test D. You can take it multiple times. It will at the end, it will show you what you've answered, and it'll show your score. Take it again. Fine. And you've got 4 article summaries. Some of you have all 4 to do. That's crazy. So
I do.
please engage in doing that. And some of you still have various other things that you haven't done. Exactly what are you waiting for? Stop it.
They're waiting for the last day, like last week of school.
Don't do
so
that.
they can-
I will also be right here if you haven't presented. present to me, mano a mano. You present to me, bring a computer, put it here, present to me. You get whatever credit you deserve. Are there any questions? I will go get the computers that are in my room. Any questions? So again, test D, 4 article summaries, at least 2. Anything else that you're missing? That's your world. What's up? Sure. Okay, off you go, and I'll go get the computers.
Touching it. It's a thank you because they let me practice in their room before state.
It is?
Pro